Hey, I think it's time to harvest the lawn. I mean, it's tall enough where the grass is past the point of mowing. It's to the point of harvesting. But the lawnmower won't start. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you what I have to go through every single spring with this lawnmower. Hello folks, welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host Jerry Hanson. Lawn maintenance, small engine maintenance and repair is what this show is going to be about. Yeah, I've had this lawnmower for 3 years now, and in every spring I have to go take the carburetor off, take it apart, clean it up, put it back together, and then pour fresh gas in there. And the problem is, I've been told just as recently as today that the ethanol-filled gas is not good for small engines. Now, there's some people that are going to contest that fact because there's another guy who works on small engines, and he says, no, that's a misnomer. That's not true. But with my experience, and I'm going to go by what my experience is, the ethanol gas, when every time I use it in my small engines, and that includes my rototiller, it always gums up at the end of the year, or when I let it set all winter. Well, I know you're not supposed to let gas set all winter unless you put a stabilizer in it. Well, I drain the gas out, put fresh gas in, but it's too late because what's down in the little float, I'm going to show you that when we take it apart, it will go bad and it'll gum up your little valve inside. So it says E85, which is ethanol, and it has a circle around it and a cross. Do not use ethanol in these mowers. Let's tear into this carburetor. I'll show you how I take it apart and clean it, completely disassemble it, clean it, and put it back together, and then start the little monster. And yeah, let's do this. Okay, this is what it does when it doesn't want to start. It acts like it's starving itself from gas, so that indicates it's a gas flow issue, and I think my carburetor's gummed up. I just got to take it off and fix it. Okay, now when it comes to this engine and this carburetor, I am now officially an expert because I've had it taken apart at least 6 to 8 times, and when you do something that often, you become an expert. So, the tools I'm going to use are 2 screwdrivers. I'll explain later why. Two empty water bottles. You're going to need to drain the gas. And I've got a pan to put my parts in and clean them up. You're going to need a pair of pliers for the hose clamp. And then instead of nut drivers, I just got my little toolbox full of different sizes of sockets. So this will do just fine. So let's get this thing taken apart. Okay, we remove this and that. And then we've got 4 screws that we're going to take off. And they have 2 different size of nuts on them. So here's one size. And I'll store all my parts in there so I don't lose them. And then there's another one right down here. And put that there. Then we change from a 7mm to an 8mm and take this one out. And this one off. And you just pull that straight out. Now this is your little primer bulb when you prime the gas into the carburetor, but it will not start. And I've tried several times, so that's the back of it. We're going to clean this up before we put it back on. And here's the carburetor. I need to get the shroud off. So again, with the same size, let's take that shroud off. For this, I need the socket to loosen those. Okay. And there's only 3 of these things holding this one on. Okay, I'll just lift that off and set it aside. And now I have my carburetor free. So what I'm going to do now is take a bottle, and right down here there's a hose clamp. And that hose clamp, you just take your pliers and you squeeze those little things together and pull it back. Then you loosen your hose and pull that off. But before I pull it off, I want to explain something. You can also opt not to drain the gas into these, but have in your possession a bolt that's big enough to fit inside of that hose, so you can plug the gas up and just not have to worry about draining it out. So let's just stick this in there. Now I'm going to lose a little bit of gas there. Okay, work that out of there. Okay, and we stick that plug in there and stop it. Okay, it stopped. Now that carburetor just pulls straight out. It's just fit in there by compression. You can just work it out, and then tilt it off of this, the lever. And now I have the carburetor off. That's what the carburetor is. It takes gas in through here, goes down into a little bowl down in here. There's a little float inside and a little pin that's spring fed, and it lets just a little bit of gas through the butterfly here into the engine where the spark plug is, and the spark plug will ignite that little bit of gas, and that's what turns your engine on. So real simple. We're going to go ahead and take these 2 nuts off, and then we're going to go ahead and take this apart and clean it up. And those little nuts take the 7mm screw. There we go. There's one. And here's the other one. Now this trick, you got to pull this off. That's going to be a little tricky. I need a screwdriver 2 screwdrivers, 2 hands, so let's see if I can catch this on camera. Okay. I need, well, maybe if I can stick it down there. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. I got a gap there. And I got a gap there. And there's the inside that I was talking about of the carburetor. Now here's the bowl, and this is where the gas rests. We set that aside, and here's the float right here. It sits like this, and that floats on gas, and as it comes down, when the gas gets sucked out, it comes down and it lets more gas in through a little valve that is right here, because the gas goes in through here and down through this little thing. Now we got to pull this off. Okay, needle those pliers, and this just snaps in, so you're just going to snap this right off of there. Just lift up. Okay, don't lose your pin. We'll set that down there, and be very careful. Take the float out. There's the float, and there's the little pin right here. That pin actually sets right in the float right there. And then when the float goes up and down, that little pin will open and close the valve that's in there. I got a parts cleaner, so we're going to clean this out and make sure it's all clean and it isn't inhibited. Okay, I'm ready to put this on. Now remember, you got to make accommodation for this. So this thing right here is going to fit down into that deep well. So we're going to make sure it's on the correct way, and there's only one way it should go on. There we go, that way. Yeah, that's the way. And this gets pressed down and seated because you've got that O-ring that's going to make sure it's not going to leak. And now we just put those back in and just reverse the assembly of when you disassembled. Okay, make sure that's tight. All right. And now, this is your butterfly lever right here, and you got to make sure, don't forget to hook that back up, otherwise your lawnmower or your small engine won't operate properly. There. Take the plug off the hose and plug it back into its port, and take your pliers and move that ring, that clamp, hose clamp, back over to hold that hose in. And this, just carefully slide it right back in its position. It only goes in one way. And you work it back on to the engine intake right through there. So that's on. Then we put this back on. There's this breather right here. You got to put that on and make sure this is seated. And then put your screws back on. Let's see, the little ones. A small one right here. Small one down here. change sizes. Put the two big ones on. Whoop. Make sure those are tight. And don't forget to put this back on. That should seat right down in there, okay? Okay, put that away and use this. And we've got to tighten those down. You don't want to lose those while you're mowing your yard. Okay, put this back on. Prime the motor. And let's see if it works. I got the lawnmower fixed. I got my backyard mowed. Now I gotta mow that yard, the front yard, the side yard, the far away yard, down each side of the driveway. I got a lot of mowing to do. It took me all day to get this thing fixed. Anyway, I'm your host, Jerry Hanson. This is Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this little adventure on allowing me to show you how to clean out your carburetor on your lawnmower when it gets boogered up. Please stay tuned to more videos. You can do that by subscribing and clicking that bell icon. That'll alert you to new videos as I upload them. Please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. I do enjoy reading your comments. And smash that share button and share my videos on your social media platforms. Really helps out our channel greatly. We'll see you guys in the next adventure, okay? Bye-bye.